Sometimes we can take a look at two positive angles and ask if they sort of come together and make something nice. In particular, we say that two positive angles are complementary if, in fact, if you add up their angle measures, they equal 90 degrees. So, for example, 45 degrees and 45 degrees, those would be complementary angles because if you add them up, you get 90 degrees. What's the complementary angle of 62 degrees? Well, you have to ask yourself, what angle do you have to write in there in order for this to equal 90? And so, well, that's just 28 degrees. What about 93 degrees? What would be the complement or the complementary angle of 93 degrees? Well, I'd have to actually write in here negative 3 degrees. But complementary angles must always be positive. So, in fact, this would not have a complementary angle. This is too big. So both the angles would have to be less than 90 degrees. Otherwise, no good. So complementary angles, both angles must be positive. Okay, now, what if you take two angles and when you add them up you get 180? That's beautiful, sort of pretty straight angle. Well, then we call those two angles supplementary angles. So supplementary angles are just any two angles that are positive that add up to 180 degrees. So, for example, 110 degrees and 70 degrees. Those would be, in fact, supplemental angles because when you add them up, you get 180. What would be the supplemental angle of 90 degrees? Well, that's not that hard. It would just be 90 degrees because when I add them up, I get 180. How about 170? Well, I have to figure out what would I have to add to 170 to make it 180, so it's just 10 degrees. So these two angles are supplemental. These two angles are supplemental, and these are complemental. So sometimes it's sort of useful to be able to sort of take an angle and sort of write it as the sum, write sort of one angle plus another angle gives you 90 degrees. That turns out to actually be valuable. So we have names for these things. It's just language here. No new ideas, just language. Anyway, now you know the language. See you soon.